Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final video of the CER explanations. This is the reasoning. And I don't mean to be harsh about this, but the reasoning really is the hardest part of the whole process. The reasoning requires a lot of brain power, and probably a little bit of research. But let's get into this. First and foremost, let's look at the rubric. Here is the rubric for the reasoning. It's worth 10 points. And if you want to get 7 points, you have to explain how your evidence support your claim, 8 points, and then 10 points. Let me explain this in a little bit more detail. The basic idea of a reasoning is to explain why the data came out the way that it did. Why did what happened happen? In other words, why did the Diet Coke explode more than the Sprite? Or why did 6 Mentos have a longer reaction time than 5 Mentos? You need to tell me from a scientific standpoint why this happened. In your claim, you told me what happened. In the evidence, you gave me numbers that backed up what happened. In the reasoning, you're going to tell me why it happened. That will give you 7 points. If you want to move up a level to 8 points, you're going to tell me a scientific principle or an idea or something we've learned about in class that explains this phenomenon. And if you want to move all the way up to 10 points, you're also going to tell me about how this is applicable in the real world. So reasoning 7, why what happened happened. 8, as well as giving me a scientific principle. And then up to 10, as well as explaining how it works in a real world situation. If you don't even tell me why what happened happened, you get a 6 out of 10. So here's a great example. Here's our question. We've been doing this example for a while, but if baking soda and vinegar are mixed, this is from our chemistry unit, what's going to happen? Well, sentence 1 in this example tells me why what happened happened. What happened was the mass went down. That's what we said in our claim. Why did the mass go down? Well, this person explained to me because there was not a contained space and the gas could escape. However, in the closed bag, we lost next to nothing because the bag was sealed. He was explaining to me why the data was what it was. Why were those numbers the way that it was? In his second sentence, this person thought of a scientific principle we had talked about to help explain this further. Due to the law of conservation of mass. So why was there no new mass made up in this experiment? The law of conservation of mass. And then last but not least, this person, he came up with a great idea of a real world thing, not just baking soda and vinegar in a Ziploc bag, but how a forest fire, we're changing the wood into smoke and heat, but because it's not in a giant Ziploc bag, it's in a forest, it escapes into the atmosphere and mass can be lost. This is a 10 out of 10. Notice it's 3 sentences long, so you got to be good and condense it into 3 sentences. But the first sentence explains why it happened, the second sentence gives us a scientific principle, and the third sentence tells us how this is applicable in the real world. The due dates and stuff for this are a little bit weird. I'm going to give you 2 class periods to work on this. The first class period, I suggest doing some research and trying to figure out the answer to why did it happen. I don't expect you to necessarily know everything right off the top of your head. There's still a lot in your brain and there's still a lot in your notes and there's still a lot in your science workbooks and things of that nature. But you might have to do a little bit of research. The second day, so the next time we meet, all right, that's when we're going to try and condense everything that you learned into 3 good sentences. What I suggest today is doing some research and getting some stuff down on your paper. And then the next time we meet, we're going to kind of tie it all together and turn it into 3 awesome sentences. Here are some really good things to Google that's going to help you figure out why did what happened happen. For some of you, it might have been a different type of soda gave it a longer reaction time. And for some of you, it might have been a different number of Mentos made more be expelled. I don't really know because there's 4 different ones. But you might want to Google this, chemical versus physical change. If you click on that, you're going to get lots of things about a chemical and physical change. Hint, hint, that might be the scientific principle that we're talking about. You could also Google physical chemical change Mentos soda. I typed that in and I got a lot of good hits. We got a little bit more specific with Mentos and soda. And then I did this one. I just asked Google machine, why does Mentos react with soda? All right. And that could give you some more answers too. Now, here's the problem. Google sometimes is a little too difficult. It might give you websites that are really hard to understand. You've got to be able to separate those websites and just give me the why did what happen. So again, that's the reasoning, guys. 3 sentences. But for now, just do some research and get some work on paper. Once you've gotten all that done, we can kind of boil it down the next time we meet in class into 3 awesome sentences. Have a wonderful rest of your day.